What's going on, brothers and sisters? Chris here from Namaste Gaming, and today I've got something a little bit different for you. Let me start by introducing the game in the background. This is Cube World, an exploration-based action RPG made by a husband and wife duo from Germany. Up until a couple of weeks ago, the general public only knew Cube World as a collection of screenshots, blog posts, and videos. And now, just over a week into alpha, it's being simultaneously hyped and pooped on from all sides, which is even messier than it sounds. Frankly, if I had just learned about this game today, I would have no idea whether to buy it or do my best to forget about it entirely based on the rumblings of the greater internets. So I figured it might be a good idea for me to start a series providing some real talk on how games are actually doing, what you're getting for your money, and that sort of thing. There are a lot of games now that are allowing people to purchase access while they're still in the development cycle, and I'll probably end up buying a fair few of them as time progresses, so why not keep you guys up to date on them, right? We'll periodically revisit the games as they're updated towards their official release, see what's changed, what's been improved, what hasn't, and all that good stuff. We'll call the series Checkin In because I'm a creative force the likes of which has not been seen by the world since Da Vinci. Really, just take my word for it. Anyway, let's talk Cube World. This is a paid alpha, and it's kind of alphaception right now because the store and website registration are also in an apparent alpha state. Let's talk about that for a second. A lot of people have tried to nail this guy to the wall for this, and I think the lynch mob needs to cool its heels. I'm not going to try to say I think the situation was handled well, but let me put it this way. I've run a business of my own before, networked with other business owners, worked jobs that had me interact with a variety of professionals, and I've never once encountered a single person who could run a project that required an extremely specialized skill set like programming for 2 years straight and do well at literally any other aspect of the process of turning code into a finished project and getting it into the hands of paying customers. You can make your living as a brain surgeon or astrophysicist, but odds are good that if I put you on a support call at Comcast or Hewlett-Packard or any place like that, there's maybe 10 minutes between me sitting you at that desk and you pulling me aside to request a pistol with a single bullet. Unsurprisingly, a programmer fared just as well as far as customer service, business administration, network administration, and logistics. Moral of the story, a programmer orchestrated the launch of his own product, and it's actually not that horrible considering. He'll know better for next time, I'm sure. Moving on, let's talk about the actual game. It is, as previously mentioned, currently in alpha, so the feature set is fairly bare bones, but given the level of polish, it's actually pretty decent. You can choose between races, which are at this point purely an aesthetic choice. Then you get to choose between 4 classes: Mage, Warrior, Ranger, and Rogue. Those classes each break down into 2 distinct subclasses, each with its own attacks, utility skills, class mechanics, and specializations. You then take that character into a large, procedurally generated world a la Minecraft that is literally limitless, and I literally mean literally. You can walk in one direction until your PC dies of old age, and you'll never once hit an invisible wall or a never-ending ocean. This world is populated with monsters, fellow adventure bros, resources, towns, dungeons, bosses, and last but not least, you, the player. Now, let's just pause here for a second and clarify. All that stuff I mentioned is part of the game right now. Also, every point that I mentioned, races, classes, specializations, monsters, resources, towns, dungeons, bosses, players, they're working on adding more of all of those things. In the meantime, what we're left with plays like a cross between Terra, Skyrim, and Ocarina of Time, and while it currently lacks the depth of any of those games, it possesses the potential to go just as deep if the updates pan out. The majority of the time so far seems to have gone into polish and QA. I haven't had a single crash with the game or the server client. All of the bugs I've encountered have been relatively minor, and all of the basic mechanics work very well. The gameplay is smooth and the controls are responsive, and it looks great. Whatever sort of algorithm the terrain generation uses results in some pretty spectacular sights, and if you've got any interest in exploring a huge open world, maybe hang gliding off a cliff or sailing across an ocean as a supplement to your dungeoneering, Cube World might be your jam. Well, the game still definitely needs content added and could use some balance passes, tweaks to enemy AI, and probably a few other things that people who have invested more than 20 hours into the game so far could expand upon. It's pretty incredible for an alpha, and considering the $20 cost of admission gets you access to updates for the life of the game, it's a fair price in my opinion. If you're interested in picking it up, the first link in the description is going to be a link to the store page for it. The second one is going to be a link to a website that checks the status of the store page in case the aforementioned launch issues rear their ugly heads again. If you'd rather wait and see, that's cool too. That's the whole point of this series, in fact, and while that's all I've got for you for this episode, you can count on another episode when the next major revision of Cube World is released. If that makes you feel all cuddly and happy inside, feel free to do me a kindness by clicking the like button on your way out, and if you're new around here, go ahead and click the subscribe button, especially if you happen to play Guild Wars 2 as well. Much love to you wonderful human beings, have a beautiful day, and stay black.